Good evening and welcome everybody here and everyone watching on YouTube. It is October 16th. This is the Akron Public Schools Legal Contracts and Board Policy Committee meeting, and it is 5:48. And I'm going to hop right into agenda item 1.01, previous meeting summary of our September 18th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? Now is the time. Otherwise, we will accept it as presented to us. Okay, well, we will accept those meeting minutes and move on to Section 2, discussion topics. We have a discussion of AI with Mr. Henshaw, so please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Molinar. Okay, I'm gonna just take about 5 to 10 minutes here, just walking through AI and specifically how it relates to AI in addition to our two policies, 7540.02 or 7540.03 and 7540.04. So, harnessing AI for education, balancing innovation with responsibility. My name is Zach Henshaw. I'm the Executive Director of IT. And in essence, that's what we're really talking about whenever we're talking about AI in education. We want to make sure that we're having that balancing effect of innovation in our classrooms, along with the responsibility of what AI is and how it's incorporated into education. So the emergence of AI in education, if you all remember, almost a year now, back in November of last year, is when ChatGPT was just first introduced and the world just went insane. So that's really bringing us to today's topic in how do we handle AI in education and how do we handle it in our policies in our district. In addition, kind of look at how AI's potential to personalize learning. It's multifaceted in relation to how it can customize the learning of our students in our district, how it can improve accessibility, and ultimately enhance our students and outcomes. So I actually had the opportunity this past week to attend a conference in Florida. It was the 2023 RTM Fall CIO Congress Conference, a 3-day conference where I met with technology leaders across the nation. So district sizes from 1,000 up to 150,000 students. And as you imagine, one of the main topics during these sessions, roundtables, and workshops was AI. How are other districts utilizing AI? And so forth. And the mass majority of them fall into two categories. One, they already have AI embedded in their current policies, or two, they are working on processes to put it in their policies currently. So we're right there with the majority. I'll say confidently, 99% of the individuals there, and the only way I'm not saying it's 100% because I didn't get to talk to every single one of them, that everyone is for managing AI and ensuring its capabilities in the school district. So I'm just going to touch base on the importance of educational integrity just in general and where we have that mindset with AI. We're going to review those two policy additions, specifically around those sections related to AI in both 7540.03 and 7540.04. And ultimately, what we're looking at is we're balancing between innovation and responsible use of AI. And lastly, we're going to discuss briefly about utilizing a variety of tools to complement learning, not replace it. And that's really the point I want to get across in today, and how you're going to see it in today's policy is that we're never going to be replacing humans with AI, which I think is a misconception out there. It's really utilizing it as a tool. If you remember when Google first came out, everyone was a bit scared about it, about the search functionalities and features. So we're looking at that just kind of expanded further. We want to make sure that it's being used as a tool within our district and our staff and student side, so it can complement our learning process, complement our administrative tasks, and so forth. So, preserving academic integrity. As we all know, we want to maintain the integrity of the educational process, and it's fundamental to ensuring fairness and equity among all scholars. No matter if we're looking at AI, a new technology, anything else, that's fundamental in ensuring that we always want to preserve the academic integrity of what we're doing. Fostering independent learning. Again, education is more than just outcomes. It's about the journey of learning. So AI really allows us to have those companions, brainstorming sessions, and back and forth, no matter the tool or utilization that we're using. So we want to ensure that we're fostering that independent learning. Again, it's kind of where we're fostering that independent learning, we're really looking at problem solving as a core objective, so no matter what we do. And that relates back to my previous point of this is a tool that we're going to be utilizing moving forward. We want to make sure that problem solving as humans are still part of that, and we're using it to enhance our educational outcomes. Alignment with educational goals. AI aligns with district's strategic plan. And again, you're going to see this a couple places throughout the presentation, that AI, and I want to really emphasize that, is AI is a tool to support, not replace the educational process. And then finally, the commitment to fairness. We're committed to providing fair and equal opportunities to all scholars and equity across the board. So we want to make sure that our scholars are having opportunities to utilize these variety of AI, NL, ML technologies and tools in our classrooms. So I'm going to read the first paragraph of the student side, the PO, or policy 7540.03. Students are required to rely on their own knowledge, skills, and resources when completing schoolwork in order to ensure the integrity of the educational process and to promote fair and equal opportunities for all students except as outlined below. The use of artificial intelligence and natural language processing tools is strictly prohibited for the completion of schoolwork. The use of AI NLP tools without the express permission and consent of a teacher undermines the learning and problem-solving skills that are essential to academic success and that the staff is tasked to develop in each student. Students are encouraged to develop their own knowledge, skills, and understanding of course material rather than relying solely on the AI NLP tools, and they should ask their teachers when they have questions or need assistance. Unauthorized use of AI NLP tools is considered a form of plagiarism, and any student found using these tools without permission or in a prohibited manner will be disciplined in accordance with the Student Code of Conduct. Now, notwithstanding the preceding, students can use AI NLP tools in the school setting if they receive prior permission and consent from their teacher, so long as they use the AI NLP tools in an ethical and responsible manner. Teachers have the discretion to authorize students to use AI NLP tools for the following uses, and there's several down through there. So again, that's where the balance in the whole presentation, the balance between innovation and using AI, we want to make sure we have strict guidelines out there that we won't tolerate AI being used to as a replacement for your work, as a replacement for copying and pasting something that's being created. But we also want to have that leniency that allows the educators and teachers to really focus on introducing these topics, these variety of AI tools to further enhance their outcomes. Very similar on the kind of the staff side in regards to the respect to students. You're going to see that kind of reiterated down there, but I'll read just the first paragraph on the staff side because the rest is the same, just in reference to students. So staff are permitted to use AI or to use artificial intelligence and natural language processing tools to accomplish their job responsibilities so long as the use is ethical, responsible, and does not violate any provisions of this policy. It does not infringe on students or staff members' privacy rights, violate their duty to maintain confidentiality related to personally identifiable information, etc. And that's really one of the key points to this policy on this edition, is that last piece is regards to privacy rights. We want to ensure that staff members know that AI, under no circumstance, we should be utilizing it in effect that we're having or feeding in information that's related to students or staffs so that there's no privacy right violations there. But as a side note, I can personally say that I use AI just about every single day in regards to brainstorming sessions, in regards to if I have writer's block, I'll throw in topics, whether it's ChatGPT, Google Bard, or some other. There's a vast variety of tools that are constantly being created so that my writer's block turns from 2 hours into 30 seconds. I'll be like, okay, give me a topic on this and brainstorm some sessions. And that's where this type of technology, as we see it advanced over the next year or 2 years, we want to ensure we're staying on top of it in our district in regards to policies and what's happening at the school level. Encouraging responsible use. So educators can set clear guidelines on when and how AI tools can be used for specific assignments. And this is a scenario where I'm knowing that it's more or less we're putting practice into policy. We know that there's assignments out there that's being utilized for AI. We know that there's teachers that are reviewing the tools. Whenever I was at the Congress conference last week, there's a wide variety of uses out there in the nation. One example here in Akron is our College and Career Readiness Director, Marcy, does actually some AI sessions with ChatGPT on generative makeup in regards to one of the prompts was, can you do a comparison or storyline between Henry Ford, which is the inventor of the Model T, and then Elon Musk, which is the inventor of Tesla, two completely different periods, but AI, based on history, can create a conversation between the two. But it's those things like that with AI that's going to empower us to further our collective thinking and further our analysis. Educators can encourage students to discuss their AI usage and learning experiences, promoting transparency and accountability. So again, this is just creating that bond between the educators and the students so that they understand how AI is being used, the experiences behind it, and the accountability that goes into it. Nurturing digital citizenship. This goes back to just in regards to when Wikipedia came out or when Google came out. We want to ensure that the students and teachers and so forth are respecting copyright and intellectual property. So when using AI-generated content, Dr. Mulliner, I'm sure you already know that there are MLA and APA citations out there for a variety of AI tools and how to properly cite content that you're getting out of that. So those are just scenarios in regards to, okay, we used to learn how to cite online articles or journals or blogs. Now we're utilizing and learning how to cite AI content. Promoting online etiquette and respectful communication when collaborating on AI-assisted projects. And then critical thinking and ethical reflections. So we're encouraging students to critically assess AI-generated information for accuracy and bias. Whenever you talk about AI, first thing that usually comes to mind is ChatGPT. and it's never going to be 100% accurate. And what I always like to say is it's about 80% of the way there. So just like when you're doing research, you're getting generative content, you're having these conversations back and forth with AI, take it as at an 80% rate of you need to ensure that you do further research to make sure that the content you're getting is accurate and without bias. And that just goes into the last point of just general discussion around data privacy, bias, AI, and kind of how all of that intertangles in the classroom itself. Supplemental learning and uses. AI, I could not list every single type of AI that exists in the ether because something new pops up every single day. If you've seen the news, X is introducing a new AI system. X is Elon Musk's company. There's new ones that's coming up every single day. But in essence, here's some of the key areas that AI is going to be looked at and really going to enhance over the year to come. Adaptive learning platforms. A lot of our curriculum and software packages are starting to incorporate AI into their platforms themselves. So I want to make sure I mention that. Chatbots and virtual assistants. Again, this presentation is not only related to the student side, but the staff side. So I just want to, there are chatbots and virtual assistants like ChatGPT and Google Bard that can be utilized on the staff side. Intelligent tutoring systems, ITSs. This goes back into the adaptive learning platforms. The intelligent tutoring systems really allow a personalized learning for the students. You will see as time goes on, a lot of companies are building in AI to give that personalized option for each and every student. One student might be, just example, one student might be struggling on reading or math versus another student, and AI is able to customize that on the fly as you're going through assignments or assessments. Content recommendation systems. That, again, a variety of AI that currently exists and will be implemented in the future. Language learning apps, as you all have probably seen with the new release of Meta in their glasses with the camera inside, there's going to be language learning opportunities where AI is analyzing different texts to do automatic translations, give recommendations, and so forth. Language learning apps allows AI to better interpret what you're saying, how things are read, and provide feedback on that. And that relates to speech recognition and pronunciation. AI-powered writing assistants. So if you all are familiar with the company Grammarly, Grammarly is widely known and used. It uses a form of AI for predictive text, predictive writing, and analysis, and they've just rolled out a separate AI-powered piece that, again, we're going to see that a lot more with these products. Last piece is administrative tasks. Like I was saying, I use a variety of AI tools every single day to brainstorm ideas within my team whenever I'm working on something, or I just need a new idea to spark a conversation. It's a great piece to be implemented. But the last thing I want to say, again, and I want to make this very clear, is that we should be using AI and NLP tools as complementing, not replacing traditional learning methods. So we're going to be able to utilize this tool to continue moving us in the right direction. So kind of want to turn it over to you all to see if you had any specific questions around AI in general, around the two policy additions. The two policies with AI added into them are actually Neola updates. the way it was worded was perfect in regards to that balancing effect, where we're going to block it from the student side because we're not going to allow plagiarism or cheating, but however, we're going to allow it to exist in our educators' classrooms to ensure that AI is still being utilized, it's learning, and so forth. I'm going to turn it over to you all for any questions, comments, and then we'll have an opportunity as well once we get to the policy itself, if we want to talk about any of those comments on the policy, those two policies. But any questions about the presentation?
So thank you for the presentation. And to clarify, I know you had the list of different ways that AI will come into our learning in ways that maybe we wouldn't have realized before. You know, with our individualized and adaptive learning and things like that, we're reaping the benefits of it without intentionally going out and using it like you would logging into ChatGPT. But to clarify, are we giving students access to ChatGPT also? Is that going to be unlocked?
Yeah, so great question. So ChatGPT is currently blocked. What the opportunities that allow once the policy goes in place, I would like to create procedures with teaching and learning in the other departments so that we can have a request. Okay, teachers A through Z, teachers at these schools, or we want to create a scenario where there's a procedure in place that we can allow the students to utilize these pieces of technology, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Midjourney, whether it's not just generative language models, but other pieces of AI, yes.
Do you anticipate in that process, and I know it's hard to see the future, but it is technology, that we will primarily be utilizing students creating their own free accounts for things, or the district purchasing accounts and managing licenses for those? And I'm asking primarily, I know we are going to discuss information management and privacy soon, but wherever that fits in.
Yeah, so that is a great question, and have not made it that far yet, but I'm making a note here. A lot of the AI technology, of course, there's a paid version versus free version versus, as you know, ChatGPT 3.5, 4.0, a variety of things, but I'm making note, and I'll add for more clarification. I can get that noted here.
So what it sounds like is you'll be back.
I will have a lot of pieces.
Well, thank you. This is a wonderful first step. It's very exciting. I know that this is something that, or I believe that this is something that all districts are going to need to examine. Everyone that is involved with learning, it's going to touch every field. Mm-hmm. And if we are preparing students for the future in any field, this is going to be a critical first step. Based on your experience, if you'd be willing to expand a little bit at your conference, where do you think we are? You said there's two types of districts, ones that already have it and the second. What else do you think we could do to become leaders?
Good question. So I think one of the biggest things where we go back, I'm having conversations in our senior leadership and think tank and talking to the academic side, is really pushing that AI communication. What the biggest caveat that I've seen and across even in conversations is in regards to professional development, because it's very difficult in this time to provide professional development because how fast it's changing. And what I mean by that is, sure, we can have general sessions around some of the large name AI with ChatGPT, Google Bard, and so forth, but the products itself are changing so rapidly, and that's what I'm hearing across all the districts, is how do you handle that standpoint? So I think from our perspective is really communicating that AI is out there. It's It's a tool to further help us. So we need to be cognizant of ensuring that our schools and our educators know what AI is just in general, because some people still don't, and making sure that they have an understanding of how they can be utilizing it in their classroom so that they can have that communication piece out.
Well, thank you. Is there anything else? I know this was primarily the discussion for 7540.02 and 03. Is there anything else from either of those two policies that you would like to highlight for us before we move on?
No, that was the main pieces of both of those policies.
Great. Well, thank you. And now we have 7540.04, staff technology acceptable use. And I think you had input for this one also?
Yes, so this is actually partially technology and partially communications department. So both of them have reviewed policy 7540.02. So as we kind of review down the first page, there's nothing significantly changed on it except for a couple you'll see line throughs. It's just rewording exactly what it's stating. It's just how it's being stated in essence. So if we skip on over through page 1 and 2, no major changes. Page 3, no major changes. Of course, it's just rewording. Some of those were past tense versus present tense, just to make sure the policy is across the board on the same type of tense. There are no major, I have to say, major changes in this policy except for just some strike-throughs and rewording of products or line items.
All right. And so I see in 7540.04, one item here is that the MFA, our multi-factor authentication that has gone through, is now part of our insurance requirement. So we will need to move forward with this quickly so we keep our insurance rate.
Yes, that's a great point. And just to make comment on that, and I touched base on that, and again, that came up with a variety of things at last week's conference, is we are MFA compliant across the board, which is a huge thing that insurance companies look for. We're not only MFA compliant in regards to emails, we're MFA compliant in regards to our VPN accounts and our servers as well, so externally accessing them. But this allows, putting this policy in place allows us a reference point to ensure whenever we're having staff members or something of that nature asking, hey, why do we have this MFA, just for clarification purposes in policy. But as everyone mentioned at the last meeting, we're in a day and age that for insurance providers, if we do not have this, our premiums skyrocket. But thank you for the clarification on that. That is the additional second piece in 7540.04 is the MFA.
And the MFA will only affect the staff at this point. We don't have to worry about students needing to do that.
Correct. Not as of this point. That will be a little bit more of a tricky avenue on navigating on how the MFA would look, whether that's badges, phrases, or so forth. What I can note is at the conference I just attended, that was a topic as well in regards to security. And next to no other district kind of had that on the student side as well, as they're trying to navigate the best route of how MFA can be applied at a district level without any hindrance to the learning. Because with kindergartens, first graders, second graders, having that second form of authentication is tough. So there are opportunities out there, but still kind of in its infancy phase.
I was just so proud of our kindergartners that they got their passwords in at all, and they can type it in themselves, and they've been practicing.
Yes.
Our little 5-year-olds, and now I'm imagining them obviously not using their cell phone to unlock their MFA.
Have a token or something of that nature. So there's a caveat there, again, a balancing act of how the best way to approach it.
Okay, well, thank you. Is there any further discussion on 754004? Wonderful. Moving on now, continuity of organizational operations, policy 8300, item 2.05.
Okay, so this is a very short policy. Again, no major changes in this. This is not a new policy. One of the things that were added, you can see in the COOP, third paragraph down, highlighted cyber attacks. One thing specifically that my department has started on, and I'm going to be taking it to senior leadership to review either this week or next week, is a cyber incident response policy so that we can ensure if we ever get hit with a cyber attack, we have clear guidance on what to do, not only my department, but on communications in regards to our communications team, our senior leadership team. So that documentation will be provided for comment there. That's the main. You will see a couple additional testing department. No major changes except for I wanted to point out the cyber attacks piece, to make sure it's part of our organizational plan of if we get hit with a cyber attack in the district, of course that can have a crippling effect, and I want to make sure that there's a plan in place if that would ever to occur.
Thank you for being proactive with that. We do, we have a lot of very valuable data, unfortunately, so this is very proactive and helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving right along, item number 2.06, policy 8315 for information management.
So this is actually a new policy to APS. This is one of those policies that's more or less practice into policy, meaning everything that's kind of outlined here, it's kind of the district practice right now, but we want to ensure that there's a policy on the file for it. And in essence, without reading it verbatim, it's basically saying if we receive a written notice in a variety of formats, we have the obligation to hold a variety of emails, data, et cetera, and so forth. So just puts a policy in place to make sure that we are following that guidance.
And is this a new policy?
Yes. So we do have an AG that it references the records retention schedule, but this is a policy around if we receive written notice. Again, we have a practice that it's happening now, like if we receive a written notice in regards to a lawsuit or anything related to that, we have to hold certain information. This is just a policy in place to make sure that we're abiding by it.
All right. Without any further discussion, I think we have another new policy here, section 2.07 for advertising and commercial activities. Is this also a new policy?
Yes, this is a new policy. So this is almost more of a discussion on a decision point on whether or not this is not a compulsory policy. So this is more something that is discretionary for the board if they want to weigh into advertising and commercial activities on school property. So I think it would more be a discussion on, is this something we want to do? And if so, here are the two options that Neola has put before us.
Okay, well, I appreciate the new policy. I feel like since there are no other board members here, we can add this to the agenda for our next meeting to discuss.
I think that would make sense.
So we can move that to our next agenda, but the school calendar, this is an update.
Yes.
8210, we're moving on to section 2.08.
Yes, so this is an update to an existing policy, and the school calendar in the state of Ohio has changed quite a bit because of the pandemic. So the board's policy is slightly outdated, and so this would bring it into compliance with the current requirements of the state. There's a highlighted section that's in here that reflects the new state law, which requires a superintendent. The board would authorize the superintendent to develop and implement a plan for virtual education in the case of calamity up to a certain amount of instructional hours. So there's no loss of instruction during the school year in the event of a calamity day. So that's what this update would bring us up to speed with that new bill. I did just want to highlight under APS's current policy, the way that Neola currently wrote this is that there'd be 30 days prior to adopting the school calendar, the board shall hold a public hearing on the school calendar addressing topics that include, but are not limited to, the number of hours in school, the length of the day, and things like that. That is not in existing policy, and that is also something that is discretionary. So I just wanted to flag that. The other thing I wanted to flag is there is something in this Neola draft that requires some sort of observance for Veterans Day. The existing policy has that as well, although this new policy makes it even more specific in terms of saying it has to be 1 hour, it has to be within, depending on the class period, it has to be an hour and things like that. So I do think those are two items that should be reviewed in further detail to see if we should keep things as is or default to what Neola is suggesting here.
Okay, and Veterans Day will be coming up by the time we would discuss this again.
Right. So we have an observance in place in our existing policy, right? But so we'll adhere to that this year. But I think moving forward, Neola did suggest some additional language this time.
Okay, thank you for that. And so yes, I would like to discuss this further. And I also noticed looking at for the old policy, or what the current policy is. That's when we had the blizzard bags. And so what we had here was that the lessons would be posted on the district's web portal or website. So the shift here would be virtual education, which sounds like that offers us more options and more opportunity for virtual education if it doesn't have to necessarily be hosted on our website. Is that one of the primary?
Yeah, so blizzard bags are gone now. So now it's more of like creating an ongoing plan is the requirement.
Okay, so I think that's a third one then that we will move to for discussion for the next meeting. And
Right.
also, I know what we had, our last item of discussion here, 2.09, discussion of our policy on public participation at board meetings. I know I reviewed the comparisons that you made here for what our current policy is and some of our urban neighbors, large urban neighbors also, neighboring districts. And I think I would like to have this conversation with more board members also.
Understood, yeah.
So with that being said, unless there are any other questions or comments, I believe we can adjourn at 6:27.
Just
Oh, sorry.
for clarification, confirmation, so 754002, 754003, 754004, 8300 will be moving to reading, correct?
Correct, sorry.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure I was on the same page on those notes. Now, was there going to be any additional conversation around 8315 since it is a new policy? Was that one of the three that you had noted? Or is that, so that's the 8315's information management policy. That was more or less the practice into policy if we receive notice on to hold certain electronic information. Or did you want more discussion around it?
Sorry, let me look at my two piles now. So advertising and commercial activities.
Yep, I have that one.
School calendar and public participation are the three
Okay,
to hold for
perfect.
further conversation.
Excellent, that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. 6:28 now. Thanks.